Hmm. So thank you all for joining us today. Today's topic in this meetup is continuous integration and software development. Before Steve gets going, I would like to introduce DevOps Institute. DevOps Institute has been a premier governance body, which is creating a lot of knowledge artifacts, certifications, and ebooks around DevOps and DevOps practices. And this Skill Up chapter is associated with DevOps Institute. I lead the Canada chapter for the DevOps Institute. And I would also like to introduce myself. I'm Garima Bajpai. I'm based out of Ottawa, Canada. I am one of the founding ambassadors with DevOps Institute as well as Continuous Delivery Foundation. I also host the DevOps Summit in Canada, which happens on November 8th and 9th. So if you're interested to join us there, we welcome you all. Also, I am associated with Capital Carbon Consulting as a board member. And Steve is one of my colleagues in Capital Carbon Consulting. He is our DevOps coach and trainer. And he would talk about continuous integration with us today. In case you are curious to know about myself, Steve, or Capital Carbon Consulting, we have social media pages you can search for. Of course, having said that, we also would like you to actually check out the next Scale Up Days, which are hosted by the DevOps Institute. There's a lot of conversations happening around the DevOps practices, and I think you will find it enriching and enlightening to be part of that community. DevOps Institute also is launching a premium membership for the community. So if you are curious to know about that, please check out the membership details from the DevOps Institute page. So let's get this going. I think, Steve, today, what we would like to do in this meetup is simplify the conversation of continuous integration. I would like to highlight that there are four aspects which we will bring together in this meetup, and it's not limited to these four aspects. We can also open up the discussion forum later point in time if time allows us. The first consideration would be like, what are the prerequisites for continuous integration? How do you see continuous integration from a changing landscape of on-premise versus cloud? What are the key challenges and opportunities it bring forward to us? Continuous integration, is it all about pipeline or something? Are we missing something else? So Steve will walk us through to understand that. And of course, we can brainstorm together about the future features of CI. So let's get this going. Steve, meanwhile, I actually give you the rights to share. Why don't you actually go ahead and introduce yourself?
Okay, no problem. Hello everyone. My name is Steve. I work in the IT industry for more than 20 years. And now I work with Capital Carbon Consulting as a DevOps coach. I'm a certified DevOps coach of DevOps Institute. And I'm very happy to share some of my past experience and the knowledge of DevOps to everyone. So if you have any of the questions about DevOps Institute certification and the DevOps knowledge and how to help your company, how to help your client to do the DevOps transformation, you can contact Capital Carbon Consulting or contact me directly. Okay, let me share my screen and let's start. Give me 1 minute. Let's start it. Okay. Cool. So today's topic is about software development process and CI. So CI refers to continuous integration. And today we are going to, I will show why we need the CI in the software development. What's wrong with the traditional software development process? Okay, let's get it working. First, I want to introduce the 2021 DevOps event agenda. Someone maybe attend the January meetup, which we talked about the enterprises issues in 2020. I noticed, and February our topic is about software development process and CI. And in March, we will talk about the continuous testing automation. And the following 10 months, each month we will pick a topic of DevOps and share the knowledge to you. And also, if you have anything new, or you want to know the specific area of DevOps or the other digital transformation for the organization, welcome to contact me, and I can fit your issues in the course, and let's talk about it. Okay. That is a basic introduction of myself. Oh, another thing I forgot to say just now, I take myself still a developer, a Java and a Python developer. And I have 10 years, more than 10 years Java software development experience, and I still like coding. So if you have any of the coding problems, welcome to contact me as well. First part, we are going to say why we need CI. If my company can my company do the software development without CI? So that is the question I usually people ask me the first time I help one company or one organization to implement DevOps. Okay, first let's talk about the software development process. We know that in each of the software company, we have those guys. Let me use a pen, laser pointing here. Okay, we have those two kinds of guys. They are developer, or we call that one is a developer, the other is tester. So they are coding and they work very hard every day. And then there might be some magic here and with some secret ingredient. And after that, everything goes to your fancy app. Which you can install the app from the Apple Store or from Google, right? So that is basically what you think, what we think of the software development process. Okay. Next. Okay. So there must be some magic here, and then I can explain what is magic. Okay. Basically, we turn the magic into three pipelines. The first pipeline, we call that is a local testing environment. Means after a developer commit a code, someone or something will build the code. If we use Java, and so Java is a compiled language, so we need to compile the code and build the code. If we need, if we are coding by Python, Python is a scripting language, So we don't need to compile, but we still need to build the Python code to package it. Okay, because in Python we also use a lot of third party libraries. So we need to package those libraries with your code so that everyone use your code. Everyone run your code can use the library at the same time. Okay, so that is a build. And then probably you want to do the unit test. So what is a unit test? Unit test means you test every part of your code, right? So we call that a unit test. And why we need test? Because developers makes mistakes. And I have a philosophy. Trust me, when I worked as a product owner, I never trusted developers because they make mistakes. Okay, so that means that is the reason I use a lot of tests to the code so that I can ensure everything in the production have no errors. So the unit test. And after the unit test, we will go to the code analysis phase. What is a code analysis? So code analysis is a concept of statistic check, means check the, the source code. Probably if you know some of the, if you have the coding skills, you'll know the concept of pair coding and the code review activity. So in the pair coding and in the code review meeting, what we do, we just watch the other, we review the other developers' code. We make sure nothing wrong in the code manually, right? But we can use the automatic way to help us to do the statistic check, such as to check how many for loops in your code, because for loops is hard to understand. Suppose you have 10 level of for loops, your code is not a good code. Okay, so that is a code analysis. And then the code will be deployed to the testing environment, and then to load testing data and to run the test. So here to run the test is not here the test is the same test of the unit test, and the reason of all the developers has already run the test, and here we need to run the test again. Why? Because you might hear a lot of saying from a developer. He will say to the tester, everything runs in my computer. I get no errors. Why? You have this error. It must be your environment problem. It must be the server's problem. Try to reboot the server. Try to reboot your computer and try again. But that's wrong. All the code should be run correctly in the local environment, but not in the developers developing computers. Okay, so that is a local environment, local testing environment process. And then if all the code pass local testing environment test, it will be deployed to the SIT environment. SIT refers to System Integration Testing Environment. So SIT environment, and run the performance testing, run the security testing, and then run the integration testing. So what's the difference between the unit testing and integration testing I mentioned here? Because one project, you will have multiple developers, at least 2 developers, right? So suppose developer A runs everything well in the testing, and developer B also run testing well. But when they merge their code, something always happen. So we need to make sure, and this situation will be worse if you have more developers. Think about a development team if you have 10 developers, and each of the developers might have chance to conflict with the others. Suppose each developer have only 5% of chance to have the conflict with the others. So 10 developers, you will have 50%. You have half of the chance to have the conflict code. So that is the reason we need to run the integration test. Integration test the overall code, which all the developers codes merge. So that is the integration test. And the performance test and the security test, I think you must know it as well. So I won't repeat them here. This is in the integration testing environment. And then if all the integration testing finished, we will try to deploy the whole build into the staging environment. And later we might deploy it in the production environment, The difference between staging environment and the production environment, they are pretty same, which I suggest you need to keep. They are the same environment. You can have the only difference of, because your production environment, you need to handle the big volumes of traffic. So you might have more servers for the load balancing. But except for that, all the configurations, all the environment between staging and production should be the same. Why? Because you don't want everything testing well in your staging, but after you deployed it in the production, something went wrong, right? So it's better to keep two environment the same. Okay, and so let's continue to the process. After we test everything well in the integration environment, we will tag the build. We will tag the build as version 1.1.1. Okay, and after tag the build, we'll create the staging environment. Why we need to create a new staging environment? Because we want to have a fresh, a clear environment to run your build, and thanks to the virtual machine technology and the container technology, we can run the Docker in your whole development process. So by running a Docker image, you will get a clear staging environment, and you attach your build, you attach your code, the compiling of code to the Docker image, and deploy the Docker image in your staging environment. Here, deploy in the staging environment, and then create and maybe you will create a package for the production environment and deploy to your production. But I want to mention here, deploy to the production is not a technical decision. It should be a business decision. So to the technical team, your responsibility is only for make sure everything runs well, less bug in the staging environment. But when your code, your new feature deployed to the production environment, your business department make the decision. Okay, someone asked some questions. Let me see what it is. Okay. Okay. No worries for that. Okay, let me continue on the topic. Okay, so basically here are the magic of how a code become to a product. Okay, and then after we know what happened in the magic part, let's review the whole process. The big problems of a big bang integrate. What is the big bang integration problems? Suppose developer A developed something, and 1 month later, he will integrate his code with the developer B, which developer B working on the code two weeks before. What will happen? They will conflict. So there will be a big bang here. So usually in the past, you cannot imagine that in the past a 5 developers team, when they try to merge their code and make the merged code work, they will use 1 week to do that. That is not acceptable. So this is the problems of like at the end of every release, developers merge their code. It won't success. Okay, and if we have a problems here, then we need a solution, and CI is one of the solution here. So what CI can help us? First thing, CI can help us to do the daily integration, to help us to turn the big bang into the Spark. We know that there is a philosophy. If you're afraid to do something, do it often. Okay, so it's the same. If your team afraid that when they merge their code, they might have a disaster, they might have a big bang, merge it often. So suppose developer A, during the 1 month, developer A continue working on feature 1, and at the same time, developer B working on feature 2, 2 weeks. So suppose they have the daily integration. Even the code will conflict, but it's not a big bang. It turns into a small spark. And to a small spark, 2 developers can easily handle it maybe in 1 hour, 2 hours, and maybe they will learn from it so that the next day they will not have the conflict again. Okay, so this is the daily integration. The next page. Okay, the next page. Let's talk about some technical. What is the CI process? Give me 1 minute. I'll cancel the. Okay. So we can see everything start from here, from developer A and the developer B. When they check in the code or push the code into the version control system, usually we use Git. No matter you use Bitbucket, you use GitHub, or use GitLab, that version control platform. And then one of the CI server Uh, in the following slide, I will introduce some CI server. Basically, two kinds of CI server. One is on-premise CI server. You need to set up and configure it yourself. Another is a cloud CI server. You can use the the features out of the box from uh, the cloud version of the CI. So no matter which kind of the CI server, it will uh, it will go to the CI server. So that means CI server will place a webhook in your source control server. Means every time your source control server get a new code, someone push the code to your source control server. Source control server will trigger the webhook, and the webhook will tell CI server to run the build, to run the CI process. Okay, and then comes to the build servers. So you will have the package, you will have the build servers to take the responsibility of compiling, building, packaging, those kind of work. You probably will use another server to run those process. So your CI server will ask the build server to build, and your build server can see in number 3 will get the source code from your version control server so that he can build, he can compile, build, and package. And after that, he return the package into your CI server. And probably your CI server will run the testing. Usually he will run the second unit testing and the acceptance testing in the CI server or in another testing environment. And after your CI server finished the testing, and he will provide a report about this build results, and the report will send to the team leads and send to the developer. I can say so. The number 6 part, usually we don't send any of the reports to team leads, because this process will be run multiple times a day. So developers will receive all the reports, but the team leads and the product owner, they just get the report for the big version, like from version 1.1 to version 1.2. So it's when something deployed to the staging environment, this is a big version. So the big versions report will send to the team lead. But the daily CI process report will only be shown to the developers so that they can know where it's wrong. Okay, so here is the overall process of the CI, and let's see what CI looks like. Usually we will use a monitor to show all the status of the current build. As I said just now, CI process will be triggered multiple times a day, right? At least 2 times. One time is in the noon. Another time is about to finish one day's work. Okay, so we will set up something like this and to show the result all the time to the team. Like here, we can see this one, we can see there's a lot of pipelines here, at least 15 pipelines, and all the pipelines running very well. And this one is much simpler. It's only show 4 pipelines. And we can see 2 pipelines. One is 7 days ago. The other is 3 hours ago. And the number is 72, and this number is 10. So these 2 builds running very well. And this build is running, right? The fetch API development environment is running, and the overall acceptance testing in the development environment is failed. Okay, so probably by using this information, all the developers, they will know where is the error, and so that they can try to fix the error as quick as possible. Okay, so that is the CI looks like. Next topic, we'll talk about, before I move on, does anyone have any questions so far for the CI process? You can write your questions in the chat window, or you can unmute yourself to ask. Okay, let's move on. So talking about the CI server, we have 2 choices. One choice is we can use CI SaaS to use the CI on cloud version. Another choice, you can use the on-premise CI. Okay. Here is a table here. Should be on premise. First part, if you use the CI on CI SaaS, CI SaaS version, the pro is you will have the simple configuration. Like the one I used is Traverse CI. So if you use Traverse CI, you don't need a lot of configuration on the CI. You just prepare a YAML file, which is a JSON-based configuration file, and to tell Traverse CI where is your code? Is in GitHub or in Bitbucket, and how you want to compile your code. Like suppose you have your code is Java, you want use Gradle, and where is the Gradle file? You want use Gradle to compile it, and where you want to deploy your code is in your SIT environment or in your staging environment. How to access those environment, because this Traverse CI are on cloud, so you need to give Traverse CI the permission to access your development environment. Okay, and so that Traverse CI, when finish his work, make a package, he can push the package into your server. Okay, so that all the configuration in the YAML file. But the con part is you cannot do much of customize about Traverse CI. Suppose you want to do the static testing of your code. Like I said, you want to check how many for loops in your code, because for loops makes your code complicated. You don't want a complicated code. You want to do the static check, but Traverse CI can only give you one choice. You can only use one plugin or one platform to do that. Suppose you want to use another platform, another module to help you, Travel CI cannot support. That is the downside of you using the SaaS CI. And talking about on-premise, I always suggest Jenkins. So Jenkins is a good on-premise CI platform, which you can do the full customization. So it is the pro part of the Jenkins. It also, because Jenkins is an open source product, a lot of developers, they build plugins for Jenkins. So you can find all kinds of the plugins in the Jenkins community, no matter you use which tool to build your code, no matter your coding language is Java, Python, C Sharp, Node.js, all the coding language Jenkins will support. And all the coding language, you will find a lot of all kinds of the plugins you can use in the Jenkins community. And by applying plugin, it's also very simple in Jenkins. You just search the name and apply it in your Jenkins build, and Jenkins will automatically download the plugin and install the plugin and do the basic default configuration of the plugin, all things automatically. But the downside is setup and maintenance pain. I think most of the pain is about the maintenance, is not about the setup. Setup process is very easy. Even you need a lot of plugins, but it's just a one-time activity, and you can follow the instruction of Jenkins to set up the whole environment very easy. But we know that we always don't want so many infrastructures in your production environment or in your all kinds of environment. So that means when you have a new infrastructure, when you have a new platform, you need to make time to maintain it. You need to monitor it, right? You don't want your Jenkins only available at only available in the morning. Okay, so you need to monitor it. So it's not about just set up one environment. It's about to maintain the environment in his whole life. Okay, so that is a pain. But for the SaaS version, all the maintenance work are travel CIs is not of your business. You just use it. So that is a big benefit from SaaS. Okay, that is a difference between on-premise and SaaS. Okay, you may be ask me a question. So does CI all about a pipeline? So such as if I set up a pipeline from end to end, is that everything? That means I do CI work very well? That means I can make a safer, stable product faster? No, that is not the reason. Because set up a pipeline is easy, but you need to meet the prerequisite of setting up a pipeline. And what are they? First one is inspection. You need to find the right plugin, or you need to find the right way to work through your source code to see if there's something wrong. And then you need to have the automation compiling platform can help you compile your code, or you use some of the framework help you to compile. And you need to implement automation testing. Although you have some testing code, but there might be a platform to run the testing automatically. You don't need a human being to run the test manually, right? Because there's an automation pipeline here. And then you need to have the deployment pipeline to help your package go to any of the environment, production environment, or the staging environment, the SIT environment. And the next one, you need to have the report platform to show the feedback from your Jenkins, from your CI server. And then the next thing, you need to think about the database integration, because for the database, it's even harder comparing to the code, because the code, you can run it again and again, but the database, you cannot run it again and again, because the data in the database are valuable to you. So you probably don't want to delete all the data in your database in order to test your code. Okay, so database integration is a pain to the continuous integration process. So let's continue to explain it one by one. First part, to do the inspection. What is the inspection do? Inspection check the code quality continuously, such as you can use the tool, the name of SonarQube. SonarQube is a very good tool to help you do the static code testing, and help you to run the automation test. And just now I give you an example of the for loops levels, such as you have 10 level of for loop, your code is complicated. And here is another example of infinite recursive loop. Here I define a function here, and I use the function inside the same name of the function. So what will this happen? This function will continue running all the time, and you probably don't want this happen. And the code static testing will help you to find this kind of error. Okay, the next one, compile. So it's this step, you need to find the right framework to help you compile your code to a binary code. Here I mean like Java language, you need to compile, but for Python, compile phase, you can ignore this step. For Java, my suggestion is use Gradle. Gradle is a very good compiling tool, can help you compile and build a package. The next one is testing phase. Here, so whether the code can fulfill the new requirement, or the existing functions are not broken, or you all need test. So tests basically do two things. One thing is to make sure your new features running well. Another thing to make sure nothing will break your old functions. So that is testing, and you can use Gradle and SonarQube to run the test. For the test, there are three kinds of tests: unit test, integration test, and acceptance test. Next month in March, I will walk through When I talk about the automation testing, I will go deep to the three kinds of test here. Okay, and the next page is about the development pipeline. After you test all your code, you need to deploy your code into some environment, and you can choose those tools help you to deploy. The next one is a report. To the report, I want to mention that there are two kinds of reports you need to take care. One is the typical report. Another kind of report is alert. That means report will be triggered by a human being. I want to see the report, so I trigger the report. But alert is triggered by the system. I am a receiver of the alert. So which arrow you need to use alert, which arrow you need to use report. You should think about it. And for the report, you also have two choices. One choice, you can use the integrated one. Like if you use Jenkins for your CI tools, you can use the integrated report of Jenkins. Another kind of report, you can use a standalone platform, like this one, Grafana. So Grafana is a platform which can connect to your Jenkins or any of other platform which Grafana supported, and Grafana will get the data from them and generate a report here. And why we want to use the standalone report platform but not use the integrated one? The answer is pretty simple and clear, because the integrated one cannot support many features which Grafana supported. Okay, so but to a startup team, the integrated report is good enough. The last one is database integration. To the database integration, I want to stress that database is not a, you must shift your mind. Database is not an infrastructure anymore. Database should be code. Database, you should keep the database as code and version controlled the code. Okay, so that you can rebuild your database at any of your environment to make sure the database environment are consistent during all of in all of your environments. And for the database integration, there are two perfect tools. One is Liquidbase. Another is Flyway. Liquidbase is more like a platform. Flyway is more like a framework. So the difference with platform and framework, you need to coding on the framework, but platform, you can use it directly. Okay, that's two tools. Okay, so let's talk about CI is not easy because the prerequisites, as I mentioned, it has 8 prerequisites. Here are they. About version control management, about testing, about deployment management, about development process management, and also I marked it the difficulty level, like to fix AI fail first, no push allowed when CI fail. That is very difficult, but do the automation testing is hard. Okay, and here I want to stress that to run your CI process well also depends on you need to have a good development process management. Like 3 things I I mentioned here. One thing, push code frequently. You need to ask your developer at least push your code to trunk twice a day. And another one, I mentioned that whenever a team member see a CI fail, fix the CI is the first priority, and no code commit allowed when a CI is failed. Okay, and the last one is very difficult. Is no manual modification on any of the environment. Everything is code. So suppose if something wrong with your testing environment, and the wrong is not because the code, it's just because a environment, it's just about the configuration part. To modify the configuration manually to the testing environment is not allowed. You need to write code to do that. Okay, so these are the prerequisites. You need to achieve all of them so that you can implement a successful CI to your organization. Okay, here is the last page of today. I want all of you to remember continuous integration is one of the most important part of the software development. And it is an indicator to tell whether the organization can deliver a product in a stable, reliable way. So you have CI or not, it's an indicator of your capability and capacity of software development in your organization. Okay. I think maybe we don't have time for the question, but it's okay. We can do it the next time. Okay. Grandma.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you for an excellent walkthrough and simplifying the conversation around CI. We have some announcements to make today. So is there anyone who has any announcement, who is looking for any jobs, or who's hiring? Anyone wants to share something before we have our announcements? Okay, so if we don't have this, then I would suggest
Well,
that.
yesterday, I'm also like looking for a job, just graduated and looking forward to dive into the professional career.
Exactly. So if you are in Finland, right? So if there are someone from Finland who's recruiting in this group, please take this into account that Krishna is looking for a job. And in case you want to connect to the broader community, I think you're already part of the meetup group. We also have certain other meetup groups which you can be part of, depending on which geography you are kind of looking jobs for. I think DevOps Institute has skill up chapters in Europe as well, so do check out that as well. I would also mention some of the details, and Steve, thank you for actually outlining that how should you be able to connect to Steve. And the announcement which we have today is we have some discount coupons for the exam vouchers, as well as we have some discount coupon for the upcoming training on the continuous delivery ecosystem. I have actually created a link for you to check out if you're interested in the continuous delivery ecosystem foundation training, which is an accredited certification from DevOps Institute. Do check that out and ask for discount coupons. So send me a message or an email and I will reply with the discount coupon. Again, the training is on 13th and 14th of March. And as I mentioned, our DevOps coach is Steve. So I think you will have another opportunity to learn from him. So that's good. Anyone else has anything else to share before we announce our next event? No, so then I look forward for getting you all together for our next event that's on continuous testing. Continuous testing is a very hard topic for a lot of people. And Steve will walk us through continuous testing and how we can simplify that conversation about how to automate continuous testing in the domain of DevOps. So that's something which we look forward in March. Again, I thank you, Steve. Steve, do you have anything else to share before we close?
Uh, no, I think I first I welcome everyone to come to the the meetup, and then every month we will have multiple time of sharing the DevOps knowledge, no matter from me or from the other DevOps expert. So check our meetup channel and find the interesting event you have and register the event. That's all.
Thank you very much. And we intend to have this conversation more often. So I would like you to invite to join our March event. We will be posting the continuous testing event very soon. So thank you again. And yeah, enjoy your rest of the weekend. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.